a reprieve.
There's James O'Shaughnessy. Grixis Death Shadow against Ben Friedman. Playing Dredge, number 3 and number 6 overall seeds. Here we go. So there are times when I like the Dredge deck, and there are times where I think it's garbage.
Okay.
It's kind of interesting, I think. Because sometimes it looks unbeatable with its like gigantic conflagrates and getting back prized amalgams and Narcomoebas and Bloodghast on turn 2. Off of like Cathartic Reunion and dredging a bunch. Other times your opponent plays like an Nihil Spellbomb and your deck's just like, I can't function.
Well, and to me, it's not even that. To me, it's sometimes, it plays against a deck that wants to do regular interaction things.
Yep.
I want to play some discard. I want to play some removal. And the Dredge deck's just kind of like laughing. Like, yeah, I don't care about all of those things.
Yeah. Go ahead, Fatal Push guy. It just doesn't care at all.
Now and then it plays against like a combo deck of some sort where it's just like, I don't really have any interaction and I'm not that fast on the board. It doesn't kill anyone on turn 3 or 4.
Yeah.
And it's just like, oh crap, like a different unfair deck.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. Sometimes it's really good. And the people who like Dredge really like it. Like, really like it. And there are times when I think it's really good. Like Ben Friedman, we had talked a little bit earlier, and he said, I didn't play very well this week, and my deck just kind of carried me to a bunch of victories. So sometimes it can be that.
It seems super resilient. I would guess that it's pretty good against all these Death Shadow decks.
I don't think one would play this deck if it wasn't good against Death Shadow.
Yes, exactly.
That would be my thought process. Like, if you're playing this deck, you've got to be okay against Death Shadow, and arguably good, but maybe not. Both players taking a look. James, nah, he's going to mulligan. Washington Nationals fan not happy. We'll see how Ben Friedman feels.
How many hats do you have now?
Hats that I wear or hats that I own?
Just that you own. You love a flashy hat, right? You love logos. You love.
I wouldn't say that I like a flashy hat. I just like good logos and a baseball hat well done.
Sure.
Which is a weird way to answer that statement. But I own 6 hats. That I rotate through 6 hats when my hair is short. And I have like some other hats that just sit in my closet that I don't wear. Like I have a 2016 NBA Champions hat that my dad bought me for the Cavs winning last year.
Okay.
But I don't ever wear it.
Sure.
Because I think it's like a snapback, and I hate snapback hats. And, I think I have in my apartment like 13 hats.
And now some of these hats, you're just drawn to a logo. Like you don't even care about the team?
Logo and color scheme, yeah. Okay. I don't really care about the team that much. A Leyline of the Void for Ben. Very good against Grixis, by the way. Going to slow down. Let's see. I have a post on my wall from Ryan Overturf. Ice cold is what Ryan said. Don't take that personal, buddy. Should have won that Grixis Cube against Majors, man. Should have won that Grixis Cube. Still bitter.
A lot of love among the commentators. We're just one big family here, Star City Games.
We sure are. Going to sacrifice Blue Delta. That's going to get exiled, of course. And now here is a Steam Vents. Colors online here for James. But as we take a look at James's deck list, going to get that in front of me here. What's he losing here with Leyline? Well, I can tell you. Snapcaster Mage, done. Tassiger, Gurmag Angler, gone. Instance being recast from the graveyard, gone. Kolaghan's Command bringing stuff back, done. So Leyline of the Void is actually going to be pretty good here for Ben. Going to shut off some pretty important cards. Now, it doesn't stop Death Shadow from becoming huge and doing its thing, but this might be a lot for James to overcome.
Yeah, but it looks like James actually has a hand that's good for playing a longer game. We see a Nihil Spellbomb in his hand, and we see an Anger of the Gods, maybe 2.
Anger's awesome against Dredge.
Which is spectacular against Dredge.
Yeah. Now, here's the interesting thing, too. Because both these players have each other's deck list, They know what each other can bring to the table. So it's totally in play that James knew that Ben was going to bring in Leyline of the Void.
Yeah.
And he said, I'm going to get my Taskers out of here. I'm going to get my Gurmag Anglers out of here, some number of Snapcaster Mages out of here, and just do my thing with like these bolts and angers and stuff that you mentioned. That's totally in play here. Friedman going to go fetching yet again. He's down to 18, it's Ben. Here's Life from the Loam. Ben's graveyard totally fine. He can do his thing. What Ben is missing currently, however, is a Dredger, but Life from the Loam is going to satisfy that. James is going to cycle Street Wraith in response to Life from the Loam. And he might Stubborn Denial this? Nah, he says that's fine.
Yeah, I don't think he's real worried about Ben having a number of lands.
Okay. Here's Thought Scour. He'll target himself and I'll draw a card. He'll draw another card. Polluted Delta will be sacrificed. Yeah, you just have to now, if you're James, just look at this game as though, all right, my graveyard's just not anything.
Yeah, of course.
I'm just playing Magic. It's not an extension of my hand. It's not a resource I can use.
But like we said, he didn't have a bunch of Gurmag Anglers or Tassigers or Snapcaster Mages already clogging up his hand. So it's not the complete nightmare.
Mm-hmm. Serum Visions allowed James to draw a card, and then he scried both the other cards to the bottom. Anger of the Gods, a very good one against Dredge. And now here is Nile Spellbomb. Friedman would like to Dredge. He will get the opportunity to. Haunted Dead, Stinkweed Imp, Gemstone Mine, go to the graveyard.
Yeah, this is going to be a very interesting back and forth. James, no pressure on the board, but he does have, the Nile Spellbomb, and Ben can probably read him for some removal cards out of his hand. So he's going to be very patient with his approach. But as soon as a Death Shadow hits the board, it really changes the landscape.
Mm-hmm. Let's see what's next here for Ben Friedman. Last match waiting here. Reed Duke, Brad Nelson. They're waiting patiently. As is Jacob Haversat with his Amulet Titan deck. I know some people were certainly sad when Summer Bloom got banned, but Jacob bringing sexy back with this Primeval Titan deck. See if Brad can get by him. Ben's hand not all that impressive right now. He's just going to play a Blood Crypt and pass the turn back. The Maelstrom Pulse could play a role in things. Make our way through this game, but for now, he's just going to play a Blood Crypt tap and pass the turn back over to James O'Shaughnessy. Bloodstained Mire. And just a passing of the turn. A lot of action.
Yeah.
A lot of action. Dredge for 5, Narcomoeba trigger, which means there will be a Prized Amalgam trigger. Now, what's kind of unique about this is, if you're James, you're trying to set him up.
Yeah.
With Anger of the Gods.
But you don't want to make it too obvious.
Mm-hmm.
And it might already be too obvious.
A little obvious, yeah. By not using Nile Spellbomb there. You could have gotten Haunted Dead. You could have gotten Stinkweed Imp. You could have gotten Narcomoeba and Prized Amalgam. You chose not to get any of them. Here's Copperline Gorge. Ah, the Stinky Inky.
To the air, boys.
And now there's Prized Amalgam. James will draw. Is it time for one of those two Anger of the Gods? He's going to start by playing Thought Scour, targeting himself. And draw.
I think it's just one Anger of the Gods.
Oh, you're right. The other one's a bolt.
Yep.
Okay.
They look very similar in his
Yep.
hand, but there's only one in his list on the board.
Well, James, you are at 10. That's not a lot. Just saying. Friedman will draw another land. I am always a little wary about taking a bunch of damage when I play against Dredge because can just get fireballed right out.
Yep.
By Conflagrate.
The old cast it for 0, flash it back for everything.
Yeah. And die right away from that. 2 mana, Loam. See if this is going to resolve or not. All right, lands are back. Loam is resolved. That'll make the exchange, putting those lands in hand and Loam in the graveyard. Now here's an attack for 5. This is a lightning bolt on Prized Amalgam. 2 damage.
Yeah, I think Ben has way too many cards in his hand right now.
Got quite a few. One card that he has in his hand that he's been sandbagging is Cathartic Reunion.
Yep.
Blackcleave Cliffs is going to enter the battlefield tapped.
And Ben understands how this is going. You know, he's saying, I don't want to play too much into Anger of the Gods. I want to be able to rebuild quickly if it happens.
Mm-hmm.
You know, all I need to do is just chip away a little bit here and there, and I can just finish him off if I ever draw a Conflagrate.
Yep. There's a land. Pass the turn back. James very, very patient as Ben's going to dredge a Loam. Conflagrate among those cards.
Gonna force his hand.
It's part of the reason we've seen the Nile Spellbound being sitting there so long. Yep. This is why we're still in bench draw step. Gotta get rid of that thing. Otherwise, this becomes a nightmare. Now, Ben says, with the Nile Spellbound trigger on the stack, I'm going to discard 2 cards to get back Haunted Dead and put a token on the battlefield. Yeah.
This token, sir.
Indeed.
And James doesn't even get to draw a card off the Spellbomb.
Yeah, because it's exiled.
Doesn't go to the graveyard.
Mm-hmm. So 1/1 Spirit off the Haunted Dead, and now all those creatures are on the battlefield. And you can see Friedman's hand. We might see the Cathartic Reunion now. And we will. He's going to discard Life in the Loam and Dockmore Salvage. He'll start by dredging Loam. 3 cards, Faithless Suiting, Maelstrom Pulse in the land. Now he'll dredge the Salvage. Stinkweed Imp, Stinkweed Imp. Now he'll dredge Stinkweed Imp. Loam, Reunion, Amalgam, Narcomoeba, Amalgam. Pretty good dredge. Here's your Narcomoeba trigger. Your Amalgam triggers will be coming soon. O'Shaughnessy is down to 6.
And you see how quick he just has a graveyard again.
Yeah. Doesn't take long. And that's how dredge rolls. Take a look at Price Amalgam real quick. As Ben does play a Gemstone Mine. And now he'll play a Life in the Loam. Whenever a creature enters the battlefield, if it entered from your graveyard or you cast it from your graveyard, return prize amalgam from the beginning. Return prize amalgam from your graveyard to the battlefield. I was curious if it was you may or not. I did not think that it was. I just wanted to make sure that all of these were going to be exiled, and they are. The spirit token is gone for good as well. So the one anger of the gods that James has shown up and been pretty good.
Yep. Quite good, but it might not matter. James has not drawn any pressure this game. Obviously, casting a lot of his pressure was going to be very difficult. Tasigur and, Gurmag Anglers.
Yeah, if they're still in the deck.
Yeah, if they're still in the deck. We see a Snapcaster Mage in his hand that's just obviously not able to generate any value. He really needed to just get a Death Shadow onto the board and be able to be attacking whenever the board was empty like this.
Yeah, big Death Shadow where Anger of the Gods doesn't kill it, keep attacking.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Exactly.
We did not see that happen this game. Here's 3 mana. Faithless Looted. Dredge Alone. We know what he's looking for. Is there's Narcomoeba. He's got to be on the hunt for Conflagrate. Time to discard here momentarily. Because Ben's got plenty of cards in hand. He's also got an Narcomoeba trigger. There go 2 cards. Here comes Narcomoeba. You mentioned it, Craig. That graveyard built up again pretty quick.
And it's funny. Friedman not even discarding his best dredgers in the Stinkweed Imps. I think we're just going to see them deployed.
Makes sense to me. I mean, he can keep loaming if he wants to, but, one of the things about this dredge deck as opposed to dredge decks in the past is you can actually cast your cards with this version, and that actually matters a lot.
Yeah.
And that's what we've seen Ben do by playing a lot of loams, has the ability to play Stinkweed Imp and go to the skies and all that good stuff. And organize his graveyard a little bit. James going to draw a card. Looted Delta is not all that exciting here for him.
Yeah, this has not been a fun game for James.
No, not at all.
Basically a lot of watching. He had some interactive cards, but he was forced to use them at maybe not the most opportune times, and he's just had no aggression whatsoever.
He's going to fall down to 4 from Street Wraith. He's drawn a decent amount of lands. I think he's played his cards pretty well.
Yes.
The Anger of the Gods, he got a lot of stuff.
Yep, tons of stuff.
Yeah, he waited for a pretty long time with the Spell Bomb and got a relevant Conflagrate. But past that, he just hasn't done very much. I think we might see a Ghost Quarter activation here potentially. Yeah, he's going to go after Blood Crypt. Basics here for James. He's got an island and a swamp, so if Ben wants to go this hyper grindy route of killing lands, he can do that. I don't know if the game's going to come down to that. I think he'll probably find a Conflagrate before that, but that's actually an option here.
Yeah, I think he will too, but it looks like that's what he's choosing to do.
Oh, here comes Snapcaster Mage. Nothing to recast, of course, because Friedman has a Leyline of the Void, and now it's 1 in the air from a Narcomoeba. O'Shaughnessy is going to fall down to 3.
Getting the job done, that little guy. Doing work.
Did a lot of damage to the little Narcomoeba. There's Life from the Loam.
And Ben being very methodical about this game.
No rush. There's Ghost Quarter. There's Stinkweed Imp. Gonna leave a Ghost Quarter and doesn't want to use a mining counter from the Gemstone Mine. Here's another copy of Snapcaster Mage.
There we go, James. Hit the gas.
Yeah. It's time to get this show on the road.
Teach him a lesson.
Serum Vision's the draw. That Stubborn Denial, I don't know if it could be worse. Stinkweed Imp is going to trade with Snapcaster Mage.
Well, yeah, in our other top 8 match that we saw, just a couple of stubborn denials stranded in the hand just didn't have any impact on the game. It's one of the problems with reactive spells is the right situation has to come up for you to capitalize on them.
There's Serum Visions. Draw card. Scry 2, Thoughtseize Heavens No. Land can go to the bottom 2. I drew a Tassiger. Nice.
All right.
Yeah. It's all bad right now for James.
Yeah, it's just unfortunate for him the way this game has broken. He's watched Ben do everything that Ben wants to do, and his deck hasn't really cooperated with him.
There's Ghost Quarter again. Time to search up the swamp. Yep. And again, when players have access to each other's deck list, they know exactly how many basic lands their opponent has, and Ben knows those are the only 2. Oh, Vengeful Pharaoh in the graveyard now, huh? That's a 1 up in the sideboard for Ben.
Yeah, when the opponent only has a couple of creatures that you need to kill each game, the Vengeful Pharaoh can be quite good.
It's a pretty nice fun of. Not going to play much of a role in this game because...
No, not this game.
Yeah, as Ben's going to keep trucking along here in the air. 1 damage from Narcomoeba. Going to look at his exile, see what he's working with. Going to count his library. Not a ton of cards there. Again, the reason for this is because he just wants to know how many Conflagrates do I have left? What are my chances of hitting it? So I can get this darned thing over with. Loam.
Wouldn't have guessed it.
He'll get 2 lands back. One of them's Ghost Quarter. Stinkweed Imp. Play the Ghost Quarter. Pass the turn back. James will draw. We're all done.
Had enough.
Ben Friedman going to win this game and match over James O'Shaughnessy. 2-1. Dredge will take care of Grixis, Death Shadow. And Craig, you are 3 of 4 so far.
3 or 4, I'll take it.
3-hour elimination rounds. And had you stuck with your gut, you would have been 4 for 4.
Yeah, this is a mistake, and I'll learn from it moving forward.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah.
Fair enough. Well, we've got our top 4 all set up, folks. It's going to be Brad Nelson with Grixis Death Shadow against Jacob Haversatt playing Amulet Titan. And then Ben Friedman with Dredge against Reed Duke playing Jund. To note, Ben Friedman